Is Chrissy Bernal, and she is joining us today to talk about building your audience as an author, which is so super important. Lynn is with us. I know a lot of people are probably joining for the recording, so thank you for watching, and I hope that you find this video valuable. Chrissy is a wealth of information when it comes to marketing and branding, PR, especially for authors. So, Chrissy, I'll just hand everything over to you and let you tell us about, who you are, who you serve, and really just take it from there as far as authorship and building
Sure.
that audience goes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And
Sure.
I'm really excited to get to share all this with the authors. I know people are going to watch this again and hopefully maybe rewatch it again and again and and take
Yes.
down notes. But authors, a lot of times they struggle with actually getting their book to do something. They've worked really hard on getting it published. It's not an easy process. I don't care what those ads say that say get your book out in 10 days. No, it doesn't work like that for most people. And so it's a lot of work. And then they get really frustrated because after they publish their book, it's like crickets. It's like, oh, well, my book isn't selling. And I experienced that myself as an author because the first time I got published, this was, I think, about 12 years ago, I got the worst advice that an author could receive. And my publisher told me not to do my own marketing and my own PR because it would look vain. And so I didn't, and my book bombed. Duh, nobody was doing anything. So after he told me that, and I was so frustrated because it was such hard work to get the book out, I thought this is not gonna fly. So I dove into my what already existed marketing roots and just learned everything I could learn about how to make a book actually successful and what I needed to do there. And so now, fast forward, I help a lot of other authors not experience the same issues I did. And one of the myths that I think a lot of people believe is that if they get a traditional publishing deal, that they're going to have all this marketing and publicity done for them by the publisher, and they'll do some. They may do, send out a press release or whatnot. They'll do some things, so it's not like they completely abandon you. But unless you're at the, say Kim Kardashian level, they're not going to put a whole lot of money behind you. So you still have to do your own marketing. And so that leads me to the three things that all authors must have in order to set themselves up for success. So the first one is the author brand. I get a lot of authors who come to me who have zero social media presence. They don't have a website. They don't really know who they are themselves and what their message is. So the very first thing you need to do when creating your author brand is get that messaging down. What is your message that you're going to say? And many times it could be related to the book itself. But if it's like a children's book, it may or may not. But um, it's really, really important to get that message down. And I like to use the story brand framework when I'm helping authors with their messaging. And that's by Donald Miller. You can Google it. He's got books out. He has online courses. He has a lot of stuff. So I'm not even an affiliate. I should be with how much I talk about it. But I like to use the story brand framework. So do that for your messaging. Make sure that you've got such a clear message that if somebody said, hey, my speaker canceled at the last minute, can you pop on my podcast and do an hour long or 30 minutes or whatever, that you can do that without having to really prep. Once you get your messaging down so spot, you don't need to prep, and it's no stress. You can pop on anytime, and everything you're going to say is going to be consistent. So people are going to start to realize that's your message, and they're going to start to hear, oh, so-and-so said they're looking for a book on, let's take Lynn's, for example, on caregiving. Lynn talks about that all the time. She just did a podcast on that. I've got a book for you. So, you want to make it so that when something related to your book topic does come up, somebody automatically thinks of you. So that's where having that strong author brand, it comes into play. And I'm not saying you need to have 20,000 followers or something like that, but you need to have an active following. So I'd rather you have 100 followers who comment on every single one of your posts than to have 10,000 followers and only get one comment. And so that actually leads me to the second part. So the first one is author brand. The second thing you have to have is your community. And again, I've noticed when an author comes to me and they haven't really done anything, they've not spoken, they don't really have a circle that they've been on, they're not in any groups on Facebook or Discord or any of those other platforms where there are groups. And so then it makes it really hard for them to sell their books. They're going to have to do a lot of paid advertising. But if you have a community, it doesn't really matter what book you put out. The people are going to buy it because they just love you. And, you know, it's like we have an H2H community that we are in, and many of our other friends are in. And it's led by one of the leaders is Brian Kramer. And he's about to put out another book. And I know we all don't care what the book's about. We're going to buy it because we know it's going to be good. It's Brian. So, you know, that speaks to his community, and he's been building that community for years. So even if somebody is thinking, oh, I'm going to write a book, but maybe in a few years, start building that community now. Start letting people know, hey, here's what I want to talk about. Here's what I want to be known for. Here's the difference I want to make. And so start getting people familiar with what your brand is actually going to be, so that when you do release that book, you already have that community, you've already got your author brand down, and it's going to go so much easier. And then the third thing that authors have to have is a plan. I get a lot of authors who come to me and they think, well, my book's going to go on Amazon and Amazon's going to push it and it'll be a bestseller overnight. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Even if you get your books in traditional bookstores, that's not the case. Without a plan, you're not going to see the success that you want. And so by plan, I mean your marketing plan and your PR plan. So when it comes to marketing, you want to do obviously social media, and you don't have to do all the platforms. I know that a lot of authors get overwhelmed when they think, oh my gosh, I have to be on TikTok, I have to be on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, or I already said that, and all the platforms, because there are a lot. You don't have to be. You can if you have capacity for that. But if you don't, choose the one where your audience is and do it really well. So if your audience is on TikTok but not Facebook, then don't even worry about Facebook. Go to TikTok and really kill it on TikTok. Do it really well. So don't try and kill yourself by trying to do them all. Just pick one or a couple where your audience is going to be, and then do it really well. And then you need to start building your email list. Again, if you're going to write a book years from now, start building your email list now so that you can email those people when you start to write the book. Like, let them in on the process. Let them know how it's going. And then, start to introduce chapters or get their feedback in the emails. Make it something so that you're actually engaging with them on your emails and not just sending out newsletters or something like that. Start to build that community via email so that when you get ready, you're ready. And then when it comes to PR is something that is so valuable for authors, because it's an easy way to share your message and it gets out to new audiences quite easily. And so if you're, let's say, on a podcast, then that podcast is actually going to live there for however long the platform is on there, and unless the podcast host takes it down, but I don't see them doing that because podcasts are a lot of work. So that's opportunity for people to see your book, not only when it's released, but later, and it could keep going. And you never know what's going to happen. That podcast interview you did a year ago could potentially go viral for something. Maybe it's relative to something that is going on that you didn't know was going to happen in the news, or something, and you just happen to go viral. That could help your book. And publicity is also really good for your SEO. So even the audio stuff now, because we have the Alexa and Siri and whatnot, so they do actually use audio, quote unquote, SEO. So the PR is going to help with your SEO. So when you're speaking, and you're starting to build that author brand, in putting your messaging together, start keeping your interviews in mind, those future interviews that you're going to do. You know, what are the keywords that you're going to want people to come to you for, that sort of thing. So like with Lynn, like I was saying earlier, tools for caretakers or tips for caretakers. I know she hates the word tips, but I'm thinking of, you know, what people would Google that would make them possibly land on your book. And you know, all three of those things are going to go together, because if you've got a strong author brand and strong marketing, then that's going to make your PR easier. It's going to be easier to get on bigger podcasts, bigger articles, bigger magazines, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, you can get yourself, you can pitch yourself to be on podcasts. You'll just have to find the podcast that you want and then try and find the email address for the person who does the booking. If it's a bigger one, typically it's going to be a third party, or they have a producer or somebody who's doing the booking. But I actually suggest that authors start with these smaller podcasts first, so that you can kind of get your feet wet, see what it's like to share your message, that messaging that you've been working on, see what it feels like when you actually say it out loud and bring it into a conversation, because you will start to mesh it and change it a little bit as it goes. And as you start hearing it come out of your mouth, you might say, okay, I don't really like that word. Like, for example, how Lynn doesn't like the word tips. If maybe she didn't realize that she didn't like the word tips and she was using it in the first, you know, few interviews. And then as she listened back to him, she would go, oh, I really don't like that word tips. Okay, great. That's good. I'm glad she did that before going on to a super huge podcast, you know, that sort of thing. And I see a question here that says, how far in advance should you start promoting your book, building your community? So start building your community right now. I mean, that's just, you should start yesterday. And so that means start to be active in some Facebook groups, or start telling, you know, start talking to people at the wine bar, wherever you feel comfortable building your community. Start building it right now. Even if you're kind of on the fence going, I don't know if I'm ever going to become an author. It's kind of an interesting idea. It's going to behoove you to build a community no matter what you end up doing. So start building a community. And then when it comes to publicity for your book, I really encourage authors to start at least 90 days before the book launches. And the reason why I stress that is because a lot of PR isn't necessarily short term. It doesn't like happen very quickly. It takes some work to happen. And then even if you secure the interview, that doesn't mean that's when your podcast interview is going to air. For example, yesterday I had one that I was doing for a client, and the person said, yeah, I'd absolutely love to have them on, but it won't drop until next August, because that's how far they were already booked up, because it was one of the top podcasts. And I was like, okay, well, that's still great, but it's not really going to help with the book right now. Obviously, we'll still take it, but it's not going to help with that 24-hour push that we were hoping, you know, because I'm not sure if I know before we actually started the conversation officially, we were talking about playing the Amazon game, and that first 24 hours that you're on Amazon is crucial, because you've got to get all the sales that you can. And like Lynn was saying before we started the conversation too, that getting that international status with having sales in Canada is huge. So yeah, again, goes to building the community. So if you want that international status, start building that Canadian community too. So thankfully, Lynn said she does have a smaller community there. So hopefully that'll grow even more before her book launches on November 8th. I'm plugging it now. See, she didn't do it. It was me. I plugged it. November 8th is when her book drops. And it's a book for caretakers or caregivers. I'm sorry, not caretakers. That's a different thing.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Oh, of course, of course.
Well, I beat me to it. I was going to plug you. Well, I think it's important for people, even people like me, like, you know, you and Amber and I are all kind of sisters in marketing for many, many years, right? And so we've grown to know each other and identify each other's areas of expertise. Mm-hmm. And PR has never been my area of expertise. You know, I mean, it's a close cousin with what I do, but it's not what I do. Yeah. And so I've learned so much since I hired you to start. And we started what, in August, and my book's not even out until November.
Mhm.
But it really is important to get that runway going. And I did have a community already built over these years, but I never built an email list before this because I never needed to. All my business was word of mouth. And so I
Right.
never had a website until a few years ago. And now I realize how important every single thing that you've said. I hope everybody really hears it and listens to it. And I hope that they can, that they hire you, because
Thanks.
you are like, you go above and beyond. I know I'm working a full-time job. And so I work a lot of nights and weekends and even holidays. And I'm always sending you ideas and bugging you. And I understand you're not working on my schedule. So that's cool. But it's really important to have somebody. And now you're going to be doing my social media, which is like so great because you can create the content that I don't want to create. I mean, like it takes a lot of time and I just can't be doing that. And so the fact that you're coming up with so much, and yes, I've given you plenty of stuff to work with, like 2 photo shoots and, lots of stuff on the book, but that's like, that's not, it's still going to take a lot of time for you to put that all together and to post it. I can do the engagement side of it, but I really think that it's like you have a one-stop shop and I love it for authors. So thank you, Amber, for having this brilliant sister of ours on.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and it is a lot of work. And so I want people to give themselves grace when they're trying to do this, because it is a lot of work. But I have found that if you put all the pieces, like go ahead and get all the pieces together, that way you're very intentional with everything. It can feel zen. And like, you've got such a good team around you, Lynn, that you were saying that you are actually enjoying this process because
Yeah.
you've got such a good team. And, even if somebody can't afford to hire a team, see who you can get to help you. Maybe your sister's really good at designing something on Canva or Photoshop, and maybe they can make something for you. Or maybe there's a college student who needs some extra volunteer hours, or they need some credit or something like that. There's always a way to find somebody who can help you. So don't feel afraid to ask. Just ask. You never know. Put it on your Facebook and say, hey, I don't have a budget, but is there anybody who needs to learn and can help me through this? I guarantee you somebody's going to say, actually, yeah. So don't be afraid to reach out for help, whether you can afford, to pay somebody or not. It's important to have that team around you as you get this, as you grow your book. And I see another question here is, what are some ideas we could use to build an email list? So great things that authors can do is to give in like behind the scenes and kind of an inside look that they're not going to post on social. So maybe it would be sharing a chapter from the book, or sharing a recipe that is from the book that they're not going to put on social, but they're going to share with their email list. You could give away bookmarks or, printables like workbooks. If you've got if you have a business book that's coming out and you have a workbook that could go along with it, that could be something that only your email list gets, kind of like a traditional lead magnet. And, like I said, when you're actually using that email list, make it very, very social. Kind of think of one person that you're going to email and pretend that you're emailing just that one person. And it's going to feel to the reader like you're writing just to them. And that's a really big way of being able to get that community and that sense of getting to know one another. And then in your emails, encourage them to reply. Make sure that there's some sort of loop in there that you can get them to reply on. Ask a question or ask what advice they are looking for or what they would like to see in your emails. Give them what they want. So
I think that's really important, Chrissy. A lot of people don't know that just from a human level, asking for that reply, it builds rapport, it builds trust, and it creates a space where relationships can start to form. On a tech side, however, it also benefits you from a email reputation standpoint. So getting those reply tos goes a long way. So that's a big, big tip.
Yes, and especially now that Google made all those changes and Apple made the changes, and now that reply is like way up here on the importance scale. And now even if somebody doesn't reply, it could actually look really bad to Google. So yeah, just get that loop going and encourage them to reply, even if it's just, hey, do you need an encouraging word? Reply and let me know, and I will send you something encouraging. It could be as simple as that. And you'd be surprised at how engaged people actually will become when your emails are human. And I mentioned the H2H network. For anybody who's not familiar with it, that means human to human, meaning there's no B2B or B2C. It's only H2H. And so we love Brian and his community, and we love what we've all learned from him about how to be a little bit more human. But I know that was a lot. That was probably like drinking from a fire hose for everyone. So I hope that they just stop and write things down and then push play again when they can. But
Yeah.
I'm always available. If they see me on social media, and I find people in groups if they have questions. I love to answer the questions. I'm doing a group cohort, or that would be redundant. I'm doing a cohort starting next week for authors, and I already have another group requesting to start later. So I just reach out to me. I've got ways to help you, whether it's free or paid. So.
Awesome. And Randy joined us a little bit late, but I just wanted to open it up to see if there were any other questions before we pop off. We have Randy. 4 minutes left.
Hello.
Hi. What kind of book are you looking to put out?
I'm not looking for a book. I was just looking for insight. I don't know.
That's okay, because you know what? Honestly, all of the stuff that I just mentioned is good for anyone to do, author or not. Yeah. It's really important for everyone to have a personal brand and to build that community. And I have been saying this for years, and it's starting to finally catch on, that even the janitor at a company should have a personal brand of some sort, because I guarantee you they're passionate about something, and that brand could help them build a community around that passion.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you for joining us, Randy. I'm really happy to see you or hear you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Chrissy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Such a value, and I'm sure the other women in the group are going to get tremendous value out of this as well. For people who want to reach out and connect with you, if they're interested in working with you or just learning a little bit more about you, how can they do that?
Well, you could Google my first and last name if you wanted to watch, videos on my family or anything. We've got tons out there, but you could just go to my personal website is chrissybernal.com, and that's ChrissysBernal. And you can find me on all the social platforms too.
Awesome.
So
very
I'd
good.
Love to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Chrissy. And I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you so much, Amber.
All right.
Bye,
have
everyone.
a great day. Bye.
Bye.